Problem solution essays are a type of essay question sometimes given to you in the test. In this type of essay, you need to discuss the problems with regards to a particular topic and then suggest possible solutions to these problems. One of the first things you want to make sure that you are able to do is identify one of these questions when it arises. So let's look at some question examples that are from problems and solution essays. This is one. Overpopulation of urban areas has led to numerous problems. Identify one or two of these two serious ones and suggest ways that governments and individuals can tackle these problems. Nowadays, many people have access to computer on a wide basis, and a large number of children play computer games. What are the negative impacts of playing computer games, and what can be done to minimize the bad effects? Or in the developed world, average life expectancy is increasing. What problems will this cause for individuals and society, and suggest some measures that could be taken to reduce the impact of aging populations? An important note, some essays ask for reasons and solutions, not problems and solutions. Writing about a reason or cause is not the same as writing about a problem. So to explain further how to write these type of essays, let's look at an essay example for a problem solution essay. So in order to understand these types of problem solution essays further, we'll look at this example. So the internet has transformed the way information is shared and consumed, but it also has created problems that did not exist before. What are the most serious problems associated with the internet, and what solutions can you suggest? So let's look at a model answer. Now you can see a link at the bottom of the video to be able to view this model answer online, or pause the video. So we won't read it through because that will take too long. So you can see you've got the introduction here, and first you can see in this first paragraph some of the problems are discussed. So pause this if you want to read it. Then we go on to the solutions and a conclusion. And it's 285 words, this one. So here is we'll discuss firstly about how to write a problems paragraph. So you've got the paragraph there. Now look at it and answer the following questions. Again, you can pause the video if you want to answer these questions. But how many problems are discussed? What are they? What expressions are used to introduce the problems? How are the problems illustrated or extended further? And what results are discussed for each problem? So your answers to these questions should tell you a lot about how to plan and organise a problem paragraph. You only need 2 or 3 problems, as remember you do not have much time and you need to explain the problems. When you brainstorm your ideas for problem solution essays, think about what the problem is, how you'll explain it, and what the effect is. Your paragraph will then follow this pattern. So let's look at how you may brainstorm when you're trying to come up with ideas, how you could brainstorm your ideas and examples. So for example, you might come up with your first problem. So children can access potentially dangerous sites. You need to explain this, so you could say, or for example, you could give an example, so they might access pornography sites. And the result of this, that it might affect their thought and development, and this is negative for children and society. You could brainstorm your second problem. It could lead to a growth of online fraud and hacking. And just explain this further. This is evident from the constant news stories showing that this is going on. And the result of this is criminals get sensitive information. So let's look a bit more again at this paragraph and see how these are placed into the paragraph. So you can see you've got your first problem, children can access potentially dangerous sites, and the second problem, the growth of online fraud and hacking. We can also see how expressions are used to introduce these. You've got to think about your coherency and coherence. One of the first problems of the internet is. Another major problem is. And you can see how the first problem is explained. So we've got children accessing dangerous sites, and you say, for example, pornography sites are easy to access because they can register on the site and claim to be an adult. Or the online hacking, it's explained further. These days there are constant news stories about governments and company websites that have been hacked. And then the result of children accessing pornography sites, it can affect their thoughts and development, which is negative for children and society. And about the hacking, it can result in sensitive information falling into the hands of criminals. So you can see how these ideas have been well explained and the ideas extended. And we can see this again, if you look at the paragraph, you can see in red, you've got the problems. In green, the explanations and examples, and the results in blue. So it's a well-organised paragraph. So let's talk about writing about solutions. So answer the following questions about solutions, the solutions paragraph. Again, pause it if you want some time to look at the questions and think about the answers. So how many solutions are given? What are they? What 3 different groups of people does the writer say are responsible for these solutions? How would the solutions be implemented? And what 3 modal verb structures are used to make the suggestions? So your answers to these questions again will provide you with some key tips on writing a solutions paragraph. Some of these points are now explained further. So for example, when we look at solutions, think about the people involved. So these are certain key actors. For example, it's often governments and individuals you're asked to write about. There may be another group specifically related to the topic. For example, in this case, it's companies and parents. If you're discussing crime, it could be the police. If it's violence on TV, it could be TV and film producers. You can then brainstorm your ideas under each group and organise them in the same way. So again, you can see the first solution, adequate legislation and controls. Second solution, monitor the activities of the children and restrict the access. And the third solution, improve on-site IT security. And which groups are involved? Well, we talked about the governments are the ones that should introduce adequate legislation. Parents, they need to closely monitor the activities of the children. Companies, they're the ones who need to improve on-site security. And also, how would these solutions be implemented? You need to make sure you explain your ideas further. So stricter criteria for accessing sites is discussed under what further about what governments can do. Using computer programs. They can be used to monitor what children are doing. And companies can review current IT systems for weaknesses. That is the way that they would make them more secure. And what 3 modal verbs are used to introduce the solutions? We've got should, need to, and must. Remember to vary your language. Don't just use the same modal verb. So let's look a bit more about how these solutions then have been developed. You need to make sure your solutions are not too simplistic. It's all too easy to make sweeping generalizations of what people can do. For example, look at this idea. The government should introduce stricter laws. It's common to see such statements in IELTS problem solutions essays with no further explanation. You need to give more detail about how or why this would work. For example, governments should ensure that adequate legislation and controls are in place to prevent young people from accessing dangerous sites, such as requiring more than simply confirming that you are an adult to view a site. So you need to fully explain your ideas and explain how your solution would work. So specific details that's been given on this. We talked about modal verbs as well already, but they can be used to make these suggestions. And they're found in the solutions paragraphs. For example, could, should, must, might, need to, have to, ought to. And here's an essay plan for the problem solution essay for the solutions paragraph. So you've got solution, what governments should do, adequate legislation and controls, more complex website access criteria, what parents should do, the idea and how this would be done, and companies. So again, what the idea is, improve IT security, and how could this be done, review the current systems. So here is the paragraph again. Note how it follows the plan and the clear topic sentence that tells the reader the essay is moving on to discuss solutions, and the modal verbs are underlined. So here you've got your topic sentence. It's important that action is taken to combat these problems. Then you can see in red the groups and the modal verbs, in green what the ideas are, and in blue the explanations. So go over to the IELTS Buddy website to see more example essays and more problem solution essays, and you can also see this lesson online if you want to read through it, and the link to that is also below.